Problem of the day number 20. What if they give you parallel lines and they want you to find the measure of the angles, but they haven't actually given you any angle measures? So then it's kind of a mix between algebra and geometry. So let's look at this example. If they give you that AC is parallel to FG, so we know that this is parallel to this, and we want to solve for X and find a bunch of angle measurements as well as Y, how would we go about doing that? So let's look at this example. So first thing that I would notice is that if we're solving for X, I want to look for where the X's are. Okay, so I see two X's here, and I want to look for the relationship between these two angles. And so you'll notice that this angle, angle ABD, is a linear pair with angle DBC, which means that they're supplementary. Okay, so it's supplementary to angle DBC, which means that they add up to 180 because that's what supplementary means. So in order to solve for X there, you want to set up an equation that uses those values of X and have them add up to 180. So what we would do is we would have 9X minus 2, which is the measure of angle ABD, plus the measure of angle DBC, which they tell us is 3x plus 14, those two are going to add up to 180 because that's what it means to be supplementary. And then you would do whatever you need to do to solve for X. Okay, so for example, let's combine like terms. The 9x plus 3x gives us 12x, and the negative 2 and 14 add up to 12, and that still equals 180. And then in order to solve for X, we would first subtract 12 on both sides. So that gives us 168 on the right side and 12x on the left side, and then divide both sides by 12. Okay, so X equals 12 goes into 16 one time with 4 left over, and then 12 goes into 48 4 times. So that tells us that X equals 14. And we want to use that to find the measure of angle ABD. Okay, so we know that the measure of angle ABD, measure of angle ABD is equal to 9x minus 2. And now that we've solved for X, we can plug it into this expression. So 9 times 14 minus 2. 9 times 4 gives us 36. So 3 carries over. 9 times 1 gives us 9, plus 3 gives us 12. So we have 126 minus 2 gives us 124. So that means that this angle, measure of angle ABD, is 124 degrees, but we're just not going to write the degree measure because everything in this book is in terms of degrees when we're talking about angles. Okay, and because of that, we know that we can do the same thing for the measure of angle DBC. Okay, so measure of angle DBC is equal to 3x plus 14. And again, plug in 14 for X. So 3 times 4 gives us 12, so 1 carries over, and 3 times 1 gives us 3, plus 1 gives us 4, plus 14, and then when you add them together, that gives us 56. So that means that the measure of angle DBC is 56. And the way that we can check this is to make sure that they are still supplementary, meaning they still add up to 180. And so if you add 124 and 56, you do get 180. So that means that we have solved for X correctly and that the two angles seem reasonable. Okay. So that means that measure of angle ABD is 124 and measure of angle DBC is 56. Okay, then if we're looking for part D, what's the measure of angle FBC? So that we're talking about this angle right here. Well, angle FBC is a vertical angle with angle ABD, which means that they're going to be congruent. So that means that angle FBC is also going to be 124 without doing any extra work. Now, in order to find Y, which is what they're asking for in part E, let's use the parallel lines. So they tell us that AC is parallel to FG. And so we notice that angle DBC is a corresponding angle with angle F, okay? Which means that they're going to be congruent. So angle DBC is congruent to angle F because the parallel lines. So if parallel, that implies that the corresponding angles are congruent, okay? So that means that 2y, which is the measure of angle F, is equal to 56, which is the measure of angle DBC. So in order to solve for y, we would divide both sides by 2, which means that 2 goes into 5 2 times with 1 left over, and 2 goes into 16 8 times. So that tells us that y equals 28. Okay, and then so to find the measure of angle BFG, there are 2 ways to do that. We could, again, notice that these two are corresponding angles, so that automatically gives us that this is 56 degrees, or we can also check it or do it the other way, which is now that we have y, we can plug it into this expression 2y in order to find the measure of the angle. And it's also a good way to check. So 2y would be 2 times 28, and that gives us 56, so it does check out. So that means that the measure of angle BFG, or the measure of angle F, is going to be 56 degrees.